Hello and welcome to the Prospect Blueprint podcast, now at twoadays.com, the number one website in the world for coach ratings and other critical info a prospect needs before they make a life-changing and damn expensive decision at the next level. That's twoadays.com. If you've got a coach you feel you want to review, leave a testimonial for, that's the place to do it. I'm Kelly Kleiman, and my battery mate, as always, is Mr. Rick Dempsey, 24-year Major League Baseball veteran and fan favorite with the Twins, Yankees, Orioles, Brewers, and the Cleveland Indians and Dodgers. Not to mention, we mention it every time, the 1983 World Series MVP with the Baltimore Orioles. Hello, Rick.
Nice to be here. And CJ, it is a pleasure to have you on the show with us. I want to pick your brain because at the college level, man, they're starting to develop some pretty good pitchers, but somehow you've got a chokehold on those power pitchers and whatever they do. Are you? CJ,
hold on, Rick, 1 second. Yeah. Let's tell the folks exactly who he is and what he does.
Oh, yeah. Go, please.
Rick's running the bases at like light speed here. Our guest today, as Rick mentioned, is CJ Whalen. He takes us into the junior college ranks. He's one of the best. He has one of the best pitching staffs in the country over at San Joaquin Delta. They're known as Delta College. It's a dynamite conference. It's probably one of the toughest, if not the toughest conference in junior college throughout the United States. It's the Big 8 conference. And that's a good sign, especially if you're the pitching coach. They're number one in strikeouts, top 5 in ERA, and have given up the second least amount of hits in the state of California. He has 5 pitchers that go low to mid 90s. And that's not easy in that division. Trust me, there's a lot of hammers. I'd go as far as saying that Delta College could beat 80% or more of the D1s out there on any given day. Props, of course, to head coach Reed Peters. But today we welcome CJ Whalen, the pitching coach of Delta College.
Thanks for having me.
It's nice. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of fun talking to you today, CJ. I'm totally amazed that you can somehow find all of these great pitchers, not only power pitchers, guys that maybe throw up into the mid 90s, but also guys that can get all the pitches over the plate. Are you more of a coach for them, or are you a pitching coach for these guys? And let me ask you one other question to go with that. How much do you rely on that catcher to help those pitchers behind home plate get those pitches called strikes?
Yeah, so I mean, the catcher is critical. We're very fortunate this year. We got 2 really good ones with Logan Mock, Gardner Christensen. But I was at a high school game a couple weeks ago. Really good arm on the mound. Catcher wasn't great, and I remember there was one guy got on first. Next thing you know, 2 pitches later, he's on third. And I mean, it's having trust in your catcher just absolutely critical. And that happened a couple weeks ago with us too. We had a runner on third, 1 out, and 0-2 count. Situation called for a strikeout. So we went slider in the dirt with runner on third, 1 out, and we had to have full faith in our catcher. He was going to block that ball and make a good throw to first. And luckily, it was all executed perfectly, get us out of the inning. But I think there's also the whole pitcher's mentality side of it with having a good catcher, like knowing that you can throw a ball in the dirt and you're going to be fine, or and just filling up the zone, just knowing he's going to be able to handle all your stuff.
You know, CJ, coming up I was in the big leagues at 19 years old out of high school. And when I got to the big leagues, I talked to all the great pitchers, Jim Cott, Dean Chance, all the great pitchers that I had to handle. And I asked them about, what they really wanted from me. Pitching in the strike zone, when to pitch out of the strike zone. And I took all the things that I learned from those guys to the major league level. Now, you just mentioned something about a pitcher and his confidence, knowing that he can throw the ball in the dirt and that his catcher is going to block that ball for him. Nobody's going to advance. Nobody's going to score. It is so important because when you get that rhythm together, your pitchers and catchers can be creative, at times. They can pitch to a hitter's strength or whatever. But my question to you at this point is, you have a lot of challenges because the more you keep producing good pitchers at your level, the tougher it is going to get them to Delta College. What do you do that gets those guys so excited about playing for you?
So we get a big variety of guys. So we have some guys that have injuries in their past, and that's the reason they're not D1s, or they have some type of grade issue, or a lot of them just didn't have the stuff yet, either the velocity, the stuff, or the command. So, and we try to cover every aspect of the game in our daily routine. So, I mean, like in the morning, you get there 8 a.m., you're going to study hall, you go to class for a few hours, then you have about an hour to go get treatment. And then Coach Peters runs a theory of baseball class, which is all about the mental game. So you have that for an hour twice a week. And then you go out to the field. We do all of our throwing stuff, and then head to the weight room. So, I mean, it's kind of a full structure that I don't think you're getting out of a lot of JUCOs right now. And just trying to make everything as D1-like as possible to get these guys ready for that level.
Do you spend a little more time on their mechanics than most of the major league people do?
We spend a lot of time on it, especially when they first get here, their first year. I would say the second year guys, it's more refining their pitches to try to get them ready to compete and ready to move on to the next level. When they get here, we do a lot of mechanical work, and that's when we make our changes in the fall of their first year. And then it's just kind of minor tweaks throughout after that.
I'm sorry, Kel, I was hogging him a little bit. Go ahead.
No, not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. Well, we talked a lot about pitching. What does your Delta College pitch sound like to a prospect and their parents?
Yeah, so I mean, right now, or this year, we had 27 guys on Division I opening day. And that's number 4 in the country, first in the state. And like what we were talking about a little bit ago, you get the full experience here, from study hall to you're going to class to treatment to theory of baseball, mental game to practice, and then weights. And you're not getting that at every program right now. And then also moving out from home, living on your own, trying to get a little 4-year feel to it as well. We don't have a lot of guys from the Stockton area right now. Most of our guys are from out of the region and live in apartments here. So trying to make everything as 4-year-like as possible. And then developing, I mean, our guys have, this year already, we have 7 guys committed, 6 pitchers. We have Fidel Ulloa going to LSU, David Rodriguez to Ohio State, Will Watson to USC, Dylan Tostrip to USC, Jake Guardiancic to Cal, Timmy Reeve to San Jose State, and those are just pitchers. And one of our catchers is committed to Southern Indiana. Yeah. So,
who recruited him to Ohio State?
It was Mosiello.
Oh, Bill. Yeah.
Yep.
Is it Bob? No, Bill. Bill. Right?
Bill. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about the approach that you take to developing a pitcher. You touched on it a little bit, but I'd like to know what some of, as you mold that approach, there are pitchers that have certain mechanical issues and psychological issues. What are some of those, and how do you deal with those? And what I mean by psychological issues are they throw a couple balls in the dirt and they're shot. You know, how do you overcome that mental aspect of the game during a live ball game?
Yeah, so going back on the physical part of it. So when they first get here in the fall, all of our pitchers in that very first week of fall ball, we put them through mobility screening. We're testing their speed, explosiveness, jumping, tracking all their velocity stuff, and then getting all their Rapsodo data. So from that, we're kind of able to figure out a plan moving forward on how are we going to get you from where you're at right now to be ready to pitch at the next level. And then going on the mental side, I mean, the class that Coach Peters runs with them is huge. So they do Heads Up Baseball 2.0 by Ken Revisa and Tom Hansen. So, and it's all about slowing the game down, because I mean, every level you move up, the game just gets way faster. So, especially coming from high school to playing at a high level junior college, the pace of play is so much faster and the guys are way stronger. So it's just slowing things down, trusting their ability to play.
What are some of the issues, though, that you find? Is it, is command issues? Is it, pitch choice? What, and then do you call all the pitches, or do you have your catchers do that?
I call all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So with the command, it's variety of stuff, I think. So I would say half of the guys command, it's really good in the bullpen, changes in the game, that's all mental. And then the guys that are, it's never any command, that's physical. Yeah. So and we have guys in both category right now. So the guys that have I think the mental side is the hardest one. Mm-hmm. So I mean, trying to provide them the tools on how to flush after each pitch and how to move on and not get down on themselves after every mistake. And then, but yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like don't play yesterday's game today. Yeah, I get you. Rick?
CJ, you were saying that you call all the pitches for your guys. Mm-hmm. Well, in order to do that, you've got to know the hitters pretty well. Do you spend a little time scouting the opposition before you actually play them and then talking that over with the pitchers when they get out there on the mound? Because, at the JUCO level, you never know what you're going to get, whether you're just going to have to adjust to what you see that day, or at least in your case, obviously, you get a little something going ahead of time.
Yeah, so it's try to do as much as we can. So we're not like Division I where we can just pull up Synergy and watch every kid's swings the whole year. So we have to either go out and watch somebody or just kind of word of mouth. And then I pay attention during BP before the games, try to see how the guy's swings work for the other team, and try to figure guys out that way. And then we make adjustments as the game goes. So we have like a broad plan of how we want to attack guys going into every game. And then we'll make changes on that throughout.
DJ, do you condition these guys on a game basis or on a yearly basis, things that they have to do? Because the reason I asked that question is I was always a runner. Mm-hmm. I played 27 years in pro ball, 24 years in the big leagues. But the day I got home from the season's over, I started my workout program the very next day, running 30 miles a week, 7.5 miles of file break roads. And then the next day I varied it to middle distance. I ran 4 miles of repeat quarters and then back to 7. And then Thursdays it was repeat sprints and everything. I never had a pulled muscle my entire career. So I was just wondering, how do you condition these guys to be able to pitch? I don't know how many games you get to play. How many games do you guys play in a season?
40 regular
40, I was going to say about that.
Playoffs just depends. So,
and do you have a definite regimen, a running program that you put them on to keep them in good condition?
Yeah. So in the fall, we're running about 5 to 6 days a week. So I kind of sync their running up with their throwing and their lifts. So, and we're running multiple different programs at one time. So, for example, say you are pitching on a Saturday in the fall. So you have your Tuesday is going to be, you'll be sprint work, long toss. Your Thursday is going to be same thing. And then your game day. And those are Saturday. So those are also your lift days. That would be the Monday, Wednesday, Friday would be your conditioning days. So those, we did a lot of like tempo runs and striders. I kept the distance down, but just kept the rest down to keep the heart rate up for a while. So just try to just vary that throughout the year.
It sounds to me like you guys do more conditioning than a lot of teams at the major league level, because these guys are telling them you don't have to run. Oh my God. I just can't think of how long I would have lasted if I never ran. Oh, that's crazy.
Satchel Paige said don't run.
Yeah.
You don't want you to jiggle up all that juice.
There's a freak every now and then, though, Cal, who does something like that just keeps his arm in shape. But conditioning and mixing that oxygen, forcing oxygen into your blood, it actually helps a player recoup a lot of stuff that happens to him during the course of the season without any medication. That oxygen is always providing the kind of blood that you need throughout your body to heal yourself and to keep yourself in good physical condition, ready to play.
But Satchel played till he was 95. That's what they say. I'm teasing.
I wanted to too, but my wife got mad, said she'd leave me if I didn't come home one of these.
Hey, look, we already touched on it, but I just wanted to kind of go through it real quick here. So I believe it's every coach's duty to get somebody to the next level if their players deserve it for sure. D1, D2, D3, whatever it is. When does that recruiting process speed up for JUCO, for guys who are in their second year? And do you find you're the one making the calls, or are you receiving the calls?
It's a little of both. So this fall, we had a lot of recruiting going on. In the fall, from what I've seen, it's right up the middle of the field. So pitchers, catchers, shortstop, center field is what they're looking at. And then, so I would say the top guys go in the fall, and then there's a lot more that go. I would say the most go in the spring and in the summer. Then with that, so in the fall, it's mostly schools reaching out to us asking like, hey, I need a weekend arm. Who do you have? Or I need a catcher. Who do you have? And then I would say as the spring gets going, then we put together scout reports on every single guy we have, and with video and everything about him and transcripts. And we send those out to every single D1 in the country.
Yeah, it seems like late fall, they sort of see who they have, who they brought in as a recruit. They go, I don't know about this guy, or they want to cover their bases because maybe they're in an option year or a last year of a contract or something like that. And then it seems as though, from what I've noticed, of course, you've been in it, you're in it firsthand. What I've noticed is that when the season starts, they see that there's more spots that they've got some issues with, some guys maybe performing subpar. And of course, they're going to lose the mid majors, might lose some guys to, Power 5. And so now we need some guys, and we need some guys quick. So it seems as though I've noticed a little bit of momentum moving forward. So appreciate that answer. This is an email thing. Prospects out there who are trying to reach out to coaches because maybe your coach is not doing a good job recruiting you, or maybe you're a high school guy and your college advisor isn't doing what he was paid to do. Of course, that should all be on the player themselves to reach out. What percentage of the coaches that you email with video actually get back to you? What does that ratio look like? You send out 100 emails. How many guys respond?
If I'm sending something out of all of our guys, it might just be thanks or no reply. But if I'm sending on a specific guy, and that's something I know they need, then they're very high chance they're going to reply. But from what I've seen so far, if it's a lot of guys, probably less likely than if it's like one guy with a bunch of info on him.
Yeah, makes sense. Rickster?
Well, I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball here, CJ.
Okay.
I want to know, I was watching a college ball game a couple of weeks ago, and the umpire really got mad at one of the hitters and called a couple of the worst pitches you ever saw. And it really caused quite a rumble at the college level. Do you talk to your players about how to react to the kind of umpiring they get, that they're just not going to be as good as major league umpires, and how to handle themselves under those circumstances?
Yeah, so I tell all of our pitchers we're completely motionless on the mound towards the umpire, whether it's a call you hate or love. It's like zero emotion. And whatever the strike zone is, we'll adapt to that. And I'll work with the catcher and we'll get you the strikes. And if it's inconsistent, then that's not on him. That'll be the coaches to take care of that. But we have all of our players stay out of the stuff with the umpires completely.
Yeah. Rick, before you get into the next question there, or follow up on this one, I want to throw this one out there. Yeah. And that is, as a coach, do you feel as though you need to chirp once in a while to an umpire? Are you willing to, do you take that on as a responsibility? I'm sure Coach Peters probably doesn't necessarily care for you to do that, but sometimes you find like you just need to, or have a conversation with the umpire. Here's why I asked this question. Literally last year in Major League Baseball alone, there were 49% of the home run calls that were actually disputed were reversed. Wow. There's a 1 in 5 likelihood that they're going to make the wrong call. That is an enormous amount of imperfection. And with base umps, what I've been seeing is it's a flip of a coin. I've seen unbelievably bad calls at the JUCO level. Some at the D1, not as much in MLB. I think they're pretty good with the strike zone, but those numbers are startling. How do you handle it?
I let Coach Peters handle the major issues, but that's pretty much it on that. Is he just kind of takes care of that stuff. So
Yeah.
All the assistants kind of stay out of it, especially in junior college. All the ejection rules. A lot of times, someone goes, the head coach has to go also. So that would not be a good situation. So we just kind of let him handle all the stuff with the umpires.
I just saw a pitching coach get ejected yesterday in JUCO. Come on, it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
The umpire told him to put a muzzle on your pitching coach, and then it went off. It was a very, very interesting moment in time. Go ahead, Rick. Sorry.
Okay. Well, CJ, obviously you're a pretty bright guy. I can tell by talking with you. You've got that energy that most of the coaches we've talked to at this college level have. And I just really, really enjoy talking to you guys because you've got a passion for the game and what you do. It's like at the major league level, I'm pretty disappointed at what I see most of the time. There are some anything, but you've got a good handle on what you're doing. You've got everybody moving in the right direction. Everybody's looking at you. Who does CJ Whalen have? How does he manage to get these guys? Well, what do you think you're going to be doing in 5 years? Is there any thoughts that you might want to move up to the major league level someday?
Right now I'm just focusing on this year we got trying to win a state championship this year, trying to move on all these guys to the Division I level, and then trying to bring in the best uncommitted guys in Northern California.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my focus is right now.
Very diplomatic answer. Thank you.
Well, Coach Peters is probably, he's also in line for something good down the road. An outstanding coach that he is. It's time for word association, which means we're sort of getting near the end here, but I love this part. Sometimes there's trick questions, but unfortunately there are no trick questions because I sent you the list beforehand. So here we go. Word association time. Your favorite pitcher growing up?
DeGrom.
He's so young. He's so young.
I'm young. So.
You didn't expect to hear Louis Tiant, did you? Favorite catcher growing up?
Yadier Molina.
Okay. Wait a minute. He sticks his leg out. You know what, Rick? Before we continue on word association, let's school young CJ Whalen on catchers catching without sticking their legs out. I watched Zunino do it today against Seattle. And of course, the ball went right by him. Run ended up scoring. Sticking that leg out. Rick, go for it. You're the expert.
Well, there's a lot of pitching coaches that believe you've got to go down on the ground and get off the balls of your feet. And I watch every playoff game, every World Series game, and so many games are decided by 1 and 2 runs. And those are crushing major league pitching. When a guy misses a 2-strike ball and it goes to the backstop and you got guys scoring and moving up into scoring position, it puts too much pressure on the pitcher on the mound, to try to keep the other team from scoring. And the more pressure you put on him, the worse pitches he makes. And I just don't believe in you can go to one knee if you want when you're not in a 2-strike situation or a situation where somebody can get to second base if you miss the ball. And there's way too many wild pitches, way too many pass balls at the major league level. They really need to do something about it, or teams are going to lose a lot of ball games, and teams that should win.
I don't think I saw any of your catchers doing that.
Yeah, they
not with runners in scoring position. I didn't see it. I'm not saying to.
Yeah, they normally get up with runners in scoring position, but nobody on. Both of our guys do it, and I know our pitchers, they like it with nobody on because of they can get the low strike a little better. But the other, I'm not a fan of it with runners on though. I just think you gotta be up and be ready to throw and block.
Yeah, because Molina got it from Pena, right, Rick?
Well, yeah, the Molinas were the ones that kind of changed the direction of Major League catching, and then all of these new catching coaches that have never caught in their lives are telling people, yeah, you got to go to one knee. Well, listen, I totally believe in flexibility. I mean, I was able to put my head on the ground with my legs in a hurdler exercise from the time I was 12 years old, and I've always maintained that. Like, I can sit behind home plate and give a target 2 inches off the ground if I have to, and get pitches called strikes. So that's not an excuse that I like to hear at the major league level, that he can't get down when he's sitting in a regular position. Because if I could do it, anybody could do it. You just have to dedicate yourself to stretching, even though you're weightlifting, that's fine, but keep your lower back in good condition. You ought to be able to put the glove wherever, however big the curveball is. If it's 1.5 feet, 2 feet, I want that thing going through the strike zone. So I'm putting the target 1.5 feet below the strike zone. And I caught 16 Cy Young Award winners. That attests to the fact that it didn't bother any of those guys.
So damn it, CJ, take that to mind.
Okay.
Okay. Favorite pitcher was DeGrom.
Yep.
Favorite catcher, Molina, and he's unbelievable. Favorite team growing up?
Giants.
Okay. Best pitcher you ever coached, and you're young, but there's somebody.
So I guess my only options are from last year. So I'm going to go with closer from last year, Nate Morris. So,
where did he end up?
Long Beach, and he's a reliever for them, doing really well.
Terrific. Best game you ever pitched?
Now I'm going to go back to at Tulane, my very first D1 game. I mean, I don't know if it was my best game because I only threw 3 pitches, but we were down or up by 1 going into top of the 9th, and then our closer didn't have his best stuff, gave up a run, couple guys on. I had to get hot really quick, went in, got out of the inning in 3 pitches, and then we walked it off on the 9th. So that's my
nice. We're playing an applause track right now. Where did you play? Where'd you play ball? Did you play at Tulane?
Yeah, at Tulane. Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
I played at Delta for 2 years, and then I went to Tulane for 3 years after that.
Oh, great. Now, Jay Ullman's over there. I'm sure you
Yep.
have a relationship with him.
Yep. So he was played for him for 2 years.
Tell him that Kelly and Rick say hello.
Okay, I will.
I'm sure he's
Please
knocking
do,
on your
yeah.
door for guys. You know, it's not a cheap affair over there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Being superstitious on the mound, is it based in reality or is it an absurdity?
I would say a little of both. So, I mean, you want to be comfortable. Pitchers really like routines. They don't like things changing all the time. So I would say there's a little truth to each side of it. So somewhere in between for that one.
Rick's nodding his head. Rick, were you superstitious as well?
Oh my God! I'll tell you what. CJ, I played on probably the worst World Series team ranked in the history of World Series. When we playing the Oakland A's, who were the best ranked World Series team on paper ever. And there wasn't a guy on our ball club. Maybe it's older guys like Mike Sosha and myself. We weren't too superstitious, but we had guys that had to put their glove a certain way on the bench with the batting glove inside, turned at a certain angle, take 3 sips of water, just swipe 3 times with the foot, the right foot, the left foot. I had more pitchers that wouldn't take the ball from me. When I took the umpire and went up to the mound, put the ball, they wouldn't even touch the ball. It would hit the ground. I'd have to go pick it up and let the pitching coach or somebody else have. There was more superstitions there, but we won the World Series in 1988, so it didn't matter to me how superstitious they were. It was funny that so many people, and even the Latin guys came, brought it to our ball club there with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Everybody was superstitious about something, and we just laughed and had the best time with it.
Last question. Is there a tougher conference in JUCO ball than the Big 8?
In California, I don't think so. I'm not completely sure about what's in Texas and Florida regarding those conferences. I know there's a lot of good teams out there.
Yeah.
I'm not completely sure.
The Big 8 was actually CKLW in Detroit. They call it the Big 8 back in the day when your dad was just a tot. Rick, any final words?
No, I'm impressed, that he's doing so well at the major league. I know how hard it is to get guys, not at the professional level, but to listen to you about mechanics and being able to keep that arm up and throw downhill and so many things that are so important, because to me, the most important part of a pitcher's delivery is his release point. I love guys that could throw sidearm, 3/4, it didn't matter. But where they released that ball told me how much command they were going to have, and you obviously got that at your level too. So I'm impressed that you're doing so well, and I hope you continue to be a great pitching coach and a guy who can really relate to these guys when they get out there, because it is not easy, and I know it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Very welcome. You're very welcome.
CJ,
Look forward to meeting you one of these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
You might be able to if they get into deep into the playoffs, but you've got such an extremely difficult conference that it's going to be a challenge. But they do have the staff, and they get the outs, and that's really all that counts. You get a few hitters get hot, and you guys are going to be in really good shape, I think. But I want to thank you and wish you all the best luck moving forward. See you on the next level soon enough. Of course, same with Coach Peters. That's all the time we have for today. If you've worked with Coach Whalen or Coach Peters, please, I welcome you to give them a positive coach rating and review on twoadays.com. That's twoadays.com. It's spelled out like it sounds. It's the only platform on the internet to actually rate and review college coaches. I say that because we're putting our podcast on there as of, I think, next week, and hopefully we'll get some fantastic sponsorship in that regard. But that's all the time we have, folks. For Rick and Coach CJ Whalen, we wish you all 4 4s and complete game shutouts. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you, CJ.
Yep, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Nice to have
that
you.
was
Nice to
terrific.
have you.